Now, it's time for brain rot. You demanded, I deliver. Here you go.
Israel
Debate with a Messianic Jew nationalist on Israel goes south from Dylan Burns. Let's go. I fucking love Aircraft Sparky. He is the dumbest motherfucker I have ever encountered in live stream politics. He's a special kind of fool. Isn't Doodleburb the girlfriend of Penny Parker? Well, Doodleburb is non-binary, so wouldn't be a girlfriend. But also, I don't think so. But I honestly have no idea what Doodleburb's like. Oh my god, your new emote is amazing, Doodleburb. I really appreciate you guys. Yeah. I'm not in any relationship. Okay, yeah, no. All right. Just for the record, Dylan Burns, pretty cool. He's been covering the Ukraine war from like the front lines of like the Ukrainian resistance to the Russian invasion. And Aircraft Sparky, a dumb fuck. How could this go wrong?
should just announce their intent to annex Gaza and throw all the Palestinians out of the area unless they want to pledge their loyalty to Israel.
Yes.
That's your official position.
Yes.
Okay, you realize this is ethnic cleansing, correct?
No, it's cleansing the land. There are Palestinians that serve in the
You don't want Palestinian Muslims serving in top positions.
That's it. Let me guess. You're going to call it an apartheid state, right?
If there was a rule in American politics that said no Jews can be president, if we had a rule that said no Jews can be president, would that be a little thing or would that be a big thing to you? I wanted to ask you a few questions, but my first question is, what has your general reaction been to the recent conflict since October 7th? The conflict between Israel and Hamas.
I was actually out of the country when it happened. My initial reaction was just release Israel. Just let them do what they do. Let them finish the job. And however that turns out is how it turns out. But and I'm still that way. What happened on October 7th was disgusting, and people like Hamas on Abi, that piece of shit, that terrorist sympathizing.
Does he live in Israel? No, he lives in the middle of bumfuck nowhere.
People like him should be shamed and ridiculed. Cheering on what happened in Israel on that day was terrible. The response by Israel has been somewhat heavy-handed. In a way, I think not heavy-handed enough. But not America's problem. Okay. I mean, seriously.
So
I have my own personal things about Israel. I'm very, very pro-Israel.
Is that tied to your faith?
Partially, yes. You cannot be a Jew without having a bit of Zionism.
So is a Messianic Jew, right? So
Messianic Jew. We're Jews with Jesus.
Jews with Jesus. They're like they're like from what I've heard, they're basically Protestant Jews, kind of evangelical Jews.
Yeah.
So there's a few things I wanted to ask you. The first thing is, you initially, and I'm glad that you went ahead and corrected the record. I'm not a Christian nationalist. Theocracy has nothing to do with I don't think theology should have any part with running a government. You don't think so?
I mean, no.
Okay, so you don't believe that Israel should be a Jewish state then?
No, I believe Israel should by every right be a Jewish state if they want it to be. That's their decision. There's nothing wrong with that.
But you just said you don't. Like that is
I don't want my country ran that way. But if Jews want their country ran that way, they can. How many Muslim countries are there? How many Islamic ran countries are there?
And you know what? Maybe they shouldn't be theocracy. Maybe they shouldn't be theocracies. Just throwing that idea out there. You know? Just throwing spitballing that one.
I don't have the number off the back of my hand, but I
How many
think
Christian ran
Islam. Yeah, but I
would you say more than 10?
Probably, I don't know the exact number, but there are definitely
it's probably
countries
around
like
20
that.
to 30.
But I would
Okay.
also
There's also
okay,
multiple
like,
Christian, but there is only one Jewish state. And if
okay.
that's the way they want to run, I believe that is their choice. That is their right to choose.
If you are against theology or against the religion, like controlling governmental policy, though, and you're against that for yourself, why? I mean, I can understand you saying, well, that's their business. That's one thing. But if you were in Israel, you would be against it being a Jewish state then, right?
No. If I was an Israeli citizen,
so you're not against.
I would be all for. I'm an American. I believe that America should not be ran by religion. I believe in the Constitution.
But Israel should.
That's their Constitution. That's the way they have it set up.
But that's not a. Well, I mean, like a lot of people have things set up in a lot of different ways. In North Korea, it's set up in a certain way, but just because it's set up that way doesn't justify it. And if you think that religion impacting government policy in that way is bad, then wouldn't that also apply?
If that's the way they want their government ran,
yeah, but I'm asking you. I'm not saying about the opinion of Israelis. I'm saying you live in Israel as somebody who just said they don't like religion running the government, but you're saying that Israel should be run as a Jewish state.
Yes.
Okay, but that doesn't that contradict?
Israel is a Jewish state. No, because just because I am not a Christian nationalist, I am not a someone who wants theocracy. I understand that the Jewish state has a right to exist. There's nothing wrong with a state existing that way.
Well, there's nothing wrong with a theocracy. Then why don't you want the United States to be a theocracy? This is seemingly a contradiction here.
There's nothing wrong. I would say there's nothing wrong with a state existing full of Jews, or like having heavy Jewish influence, and like I don't have any problem with that. But if you're against religion impacting governmental policies like that, the Jewish religion 100% impacts Israel's governmental policies, whether it has to do with marriage laws or other things. So wouldn't that be religion dictating government policy in a way that you said that you're against?
Well, yes, I'm against that in America.
Why is it different in Israel? Different.
Because Israel was set up as a Jewish state. That's the way they want it. That's the way it is.
Whether it was set up that way doesn't mean it was the best way to set it up, though, right? If America was set up like I don't know, like an Islamic fundamentalist, like Shia country, like I don't know, like I would say that's bad whether it was set up that way or not.
Yeah, I wouldn't appreciate that, but
so just because it was founded that way doesn't mean it's the right way. I'm just confused because you seem to not want it.
No, you're not
for
confused.
you.
You're Dylan.
I'm confused.
Dylan, you're not confused. You understand that I'm an American. I believe in the foundation of this country. Me and you've talked about these kind of things before.
Yeah, but it just doesn't feel like a very American value.
You're playing games.
I'm not playing games. I genuinely don't understand.
I'm just asking you a question,
because
bro.
Like, in my country, I don't like religion impacting the governmental policy. And I'm like, okay, so if you were in Israel, you would be against the religion impacting their governmental policy. Well, that's Israel. That's different. If I lived there and I was raised there, then obviously I'd be okay with religion running my life that way and the government running that way.
I was raised that way, but I'm raised American. I believe in Zionism. I believe that the Jewish.
Okay, but you were raised in the United States with American values, right? And your American values have led you to believe that the religion should not dictate government policy.
Yes.
And you think that's a good thing because that's the beliefs you hold.
I prefer a secular government over a theocracy.
So then wouldn't a secular government be better?
I believe so. But a Jewish state has a right to exist, which is something that if you don't believe that the Jewish state has a right to exist, that's kind of messed up.
Well, when you say a Jewish state, right? And this isn't the main thing I wanted to talk about, though. I feel like a lot of people get lost in what that means, right? Because if the question is, do I believe that Israel, as it exists today, has a right to exist? Yeah, I believe so. If someone was to ask me, do the Jews have a right to like organize politically and have political representation? And of course I do. But if somebody was to ask me, do I think it's right for the limitations on marriage law based on people's religion? No, I don't think that's right. I think that's silly, stopping two people from getting married because they're from different faiths. If I was to go through a lot of Israel's policies that is based in Zionism, I could still disagree with that and say that's bad. and still not like be terrible.
Yeah.
I mean,
It depends on what you mean by a
so
Jewish state, right?
when I talk about Zionism and a Jewish state, I mean that only Jews can hold the top offices. I fully 100% full-throatedly endorse that.
That's an apartheid state, my friend. Like, what do you what?
Because
Really?
the last thing we need is homicidal Islamists taking those positions. Last
What?
thing we need is reiterations. Well, current iteration of the left, the 1939 Nazi Party coming through, demanding destruction of of Jews altogether.
This man has soup for brains. It's so smooth. It's a liquid.
Yes, I believe Jews have the right to self-govern themselves and to exclude certain people from getting into those positions of power within their own country.
Okay, so you're
Yep.
pro-segregation.
I'm pro people being able to protect themselves.
Through segregation.
Sure.
Okay. So you don't believe that Christians in Israel should be able to run for office?
They are allowed to run for office. They just
Well, no,
can't
you're
be prime
saying that they
minister.
shouldn't be able to hold the top positions.
No, they should not.
Okay, or Muslims or anyone. Only Jews can hold it.
Only Jews.
Okay.
Yes.
That is the least secular thing I've ever heard in my life.
I don't care.
Okay, so you're a secular.
It's the reality. It's the reality of being Jewish in the world. It's the reality of being Jewish in a world that calls for the destruction of Jews. That's really what it is. That's where it all comes from.
Okay, well then couldn't
You could literally make this same argument about, like, you know, white supremacists believe, right, that, like, other races are conspiring to destroy white people. Like, this is literally a thing that all, like, conspiracy-minded, like, authoritarians believe, you know?
and I just say, as a Palestinian, allowing any of the minority groups to hold our positions of power in a world that has displaced us and killed us and murdered us and all these different
Palestinians are
times.
allowed to hold
Obviously, that's
office.
bad. We can't allow Jews to hold positions of power in Palestine. We can't allow Christians to hold positions of power. Would it be okay for Hamas to declare that?
Wait, where's Palestine? Where is Palestine? No, it isn't. Where is Palestine?
I just said.
Oh, he's just gonna say it doesn't exist.
Where is the country that the United States recognizes as a nation
the
state?
United States recognizes or not. 130 UN states recognize it.
Yeah, but amazing the one that
the majority
runs
of the nations in the world, except for, you know, isn't it interesting that Israel's main ally is one of very few countries that don't recognize Palestine? Do you think that has to do less with whether it's a fair claim to national determination and more with American national security interests and religious sensibilities?
Well, I mean,
so why should I care whether or
Yeah, dude, very good catch, Sophie. Something to point out about Aircraft Sparky here is that he identifies as a Messianic Jew, aka a Jewish person who believes that the Messiah has already come in the form of Jesus Christ. So, a Christian. Yeah.
or not America said it was good or not to determine whether Palestinians truly deserve a state or they are a country.
There is no recognized country known as Palestine.
Over 130 nations recognize them.
No.
They have a representative at the UN, not a voting representative, but they have a representative.
Yeah, not a voting representative. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, because they're occupied.
They're not real. No, they're not occupied.
They are occupied.
Those are conquered lands.
Illegally. Okay,
Those are conquered lands.
They are recognized by the entire international community as occupied.
We get into this because this is getting silly, but
from the river to the sea, all that land is Israeli. Let's go.
Okay.
Damn, I feel like we've reached the end of the dialogue tree here, and we're 11 minutes in.
So that was very cute. If you have any more poems, you can say them.
Oh, no. I know that, you know, there's people in your audience that would like to say the from the river to the sea deal. I'll just finish it for them because there is no Palestine. There never was and there never will be. This is just a reality.
You just sound,
really,
you know what you remind me of? You remind me a little bit like of my conversation with Jackson Hinkle. This is what it feels like. Remember when I talked to him once
Okay.
about the issue of Taiwan, and I was like, well, America doesn't. One of the main things he argued to say Taiwan isn't a country, it's not a real country, is that the United States has never formally recognized Taiwan as a country because America hasn't formally recognized them as a country. And if you look at all the old maps, there was never a country declared Taiwan, and it's a more modern conception as a state. Therefore, Taiwan isn't a country. But you do believe Taiwan is a country, don't you?
I actually do, because they actually have a government.
Okay, the Palestinians have a government. They have the Palestinian Authority
Do
in the
they?
West Bank. That's the Fatah government. They have Hamas government in the Gaza Strip. Those are governments.
And where do the leaders of Hamas live?
Some of them live in Qatar. Some live in the Strip.
None of them live in the Strip.
Some of
They
them
all
do
live
live in the
Qatar or
Strip.
Turkey.
It's just most of their leadership does live in
Their
Qatar, but some of them
presidents
do
live
live in the Strip. They wouldn't be able to leave
Yeah,
the Gaza
their
Strip if
presidents
some of them didn't live in the Strip.
Do you know why? So over 20,000 Palestinians are allowed to leave the Gaza
Wait,
Strip.
can we
daily
stay?
to
Let's stay on that position before we pivot away, because we've been pivoting from like topic to topic to topic. If American recognition, why does American recognition matter in the case of Palestinian national determination, but not matter
I don't
when it
think
comes to
Palestinian
Taiwanese?
are a group of people.
What do you mean they're not a group of people?
More than clear. They're not a group of people. They did not exist before the modern day country of Israel. They were never considered an ethnic group. They were never considered anything.
The word Palestine and Palestinians were referred to before the creation of the Israeli state. And national identity develops in so many different ways. The modern Czech government, the modern.
I need you guys to understand. I need you guys to understand. Aircraft Sparky is a monster and the biggest dumb fuck you've ever met in your life. Imagine the dumbest person you've ever talked to. They're here. Aircraft Sparky is down here, okay? And he's like just a terrible person on top of that. It's not a Forrest Gump situation.
Modern Slovak government, the modern Kosovo government, the government of Taiwan. There's so many different groups and identities and countries that, well, there's not, they didn't exist 100 years ago, but they exist today. Whether or not, and I can argue the historical, like the history of the Palestinian people, but whether or not they existed in 1910, they exist today.
What ethnicity are the Palestinians?
Palestinian.
No, they're Arabs.
What ethnicity? Like, he thinks, like, guys, I need you to understand. He thinks that he just did a gotcha on Dylan Burns. He thinks he just got him. I got him. What ethnicity are they? They're Palestinian. You fool. They're Arabs. Like,
they're Palestinian.
They're Arabs.
They're Palestinian Arabs, yeah. I mean, a lot of them are Palestinian Arabs.
They're Arabs. They're Arabs. And
okay, okay. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question then. Okay.
There were no Palestinians ever.
There are, dude. There's no. This is something that only is believed by two groups of people: Americans and Israelis. You said this somebody in Germany, they'd laugh.
Nah, guys, you have to understand. You have to understand, okay? You have to understand. All right. You have to understand something real quick, okay? Okay? When Aircraft Sparky looks at a map like this, right? All of these countries, Arab. Just one ethnicity, Arab. To this mentally ungifted man.
In your face. You say it to somebody in France, they'd laugh in your face. You even say it to somebody here in Ukraine, they'd laugh in your face. There's only two groups of people in the world that I've ever met that will just deny that Palestinians even exist. And that is Americans who love Israel and Israelis. Do you not believe that maybe other parties that are less biased and have identified the Palestinian people as having their own culture, their own history, their own identity, and their own struggle for national determination. Like, all those things exist. We can see the people yelling from the rooftops, "We are Palestinian." They identify as Palestinian.
Hey, CUF, thank you very much for
Like,
subscribing
what
to
if I came up
Prime.
to you? It's 1776. You're wearing your
I
red
appreciate
coat. You're
it.
probably with the British, I would assume. And I come up to you, and no, you'd be with the British, and I'd be like, "No, we're American." You'd be like, "American? American? What's this American? Last time I checked, this is the land of the king and the crown. America does not exist. It never existed. If I check the history books, has there ever been a group of people called America? Yeah, get out of here. This is ridiculous liberal nonsense."
If I existed in 1776, it would probably be as a Frenchman, but okay.
First of all, what a self-dunk. Second of all, what? What?
Or Pakistani, depending on which side of the family you want to count.
You get my point, though. Even if I was to secede the idea that Palestinians didn't exist until like 1948, which is not true.
Why are you subjecting us to this, man? You guys asked for more brain rot. I am providing you literally the most rotting material I could provide, okay? I'm dropping y'all by 10 IQ points.
Let's say we did say that, and we talked about the identity of Palestinian transforming in that period. Even if I did concede to all of that, they exist now, they identify as Palestinian now, and they desire self-determination now. And the vast majority of the world, except for Israel and Israel's top ally, and even Israel's top ally recognizes this. They recognize them. I mean, even Israel has recognized this. This is something that's only held by even the Israeli fringe.
They can self-determine. They can. No one's stopping them.
If you deny their national identity, if you deny that they have a right to rule themselves,
where they want to.
You don't want them to determine their own future, though.
No, I do. I want them to do it. I want
Okay, can I read you something that you've said?
Jordan. I would love for them to do it in Jordan, in Syria, in Egypt.
There it is.
In Lebanon. Just not in Israel.
They're in the Gaza Strip. They're not in Israel.
You're right. And they need to move to Egypt, where they came from.
They didn't come from Egypt. Many of those people who live in Gaza are descendants of people who were displaced by the Nakba.
Do you know why the Gaza Strip exists? Do you know why Israel claimed it as their own territory?
Then they left. Ariel Sharon pulled out, and they pulled out all the settlements.
Yeah,
this was done in 2006.
They pulled out.
This is settled.
Yes, 2006.
Even the Israelis settled this.
Do you know why? Do you know why? Well, it's going to be retaken. It's going to get annexed now. They've lost their chance.
Can we let's get to the first topic here on your list of things here.
Oh my God, we haven't even gotten to the first topic.
Burns is an immoral, morally corrupt,
man. Thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate it.
Can we play some cars? I don't know what that means.
Wait, nope, that's the wrong one. God, you have a lot of tweets on this. Okay, here it is. Israel should just announce their intent to annex Gaza and throw all the Palestinians out of the area unless they want to pledge their loyalty to Israel.
Yes.
That's your official position.
Yes.
Okay, you realize this is ethnic cleansing, correct?
No, it's cleansing the land.
Jesus Christ.
Of a threat.
Okay, now answer me seriously.
It's clear. It's actually.
It's not ethnic cleansing. It's cleansing the land. That's the most Hitler thing I've ever heard in my life.
It's great.
No, it's not great.
Well,
you sound like that sounded pretty genocidal.
You're backing people that have openly called for the destruction of not only the Jewish state but Jews as well.
Who am I backing?
Well, if you're backing Palestinians, that's what you're backing.
Okay, if you're backing Israel, then you're backing people who have declared that they wanted to ally with Nazi Germany and the Lachai, right? I can pull any amount of Israelis from Israel.
Ah, shit. I've been pronouncing it Lahi. I guess it's Lahai. My bad.
History to say, well, then you agree with them. I don't agree with the Palestinians who say kill all, like Hamas, to say go over to find the Jews behind the rock. I don't agree with any of that.
Hey, Neuron.
That's what they consistently back.
65% of Palestinians did not want to break the ceasefire with Israel. 65%.
That's awesome. So where were they? Where were they standing up? Where was the protest?
Hamas is an extremely brutal organization that cracks down on protests.
Oh yeah. So with a group of 50,000 people in an area of 2 million plus, of course, a lot of them are Muslim Brotherhood. A lot of them aren't even Palestinian.
What?
A lot of them are refugees from when Egypt yeeted the Muslim Brotherhood out, and that's where they went.
What?
They disagree with Hamas, yet they won't stand up to them when they outnumber them that much. No, doesn't make sense.
You just described how governments work. That's true in Syria.
Is a Kurd.
That's true in the United States.
Claybather has
That's
donated
true in so many different
$55.
countries
Long
where
live this
it's a
channel,
small
no
group.
matter the platform.
Thank you for the $55, Cabler. We're governments with armies that are much smaller than the general population are able to rule over them. This is true in North Korea. This is true in China. This is true in Saudi Arabia. I mean, it's not all just intimidation and fear that makes people listen to the government. It can be other things as well, but it's not so simple.
What about all the complicit people who sit there and watch them set up mortars at their schools and hospitals and mosques?
That's bad. They shouldn't do that. But that doesn't mean that the Palestinian 2-year-old deserves to be ethnically cleansed off their land, driven off with no home.
Oh, I was pronouncing it correctly. Lahi. Okay, cool. Thank you, Methotiahu.
You don't have anything wrong.
But they're going to still be ethnically cleansed by your policy.
No.
Yes, they would.
They just need to relocate.
That's called ethnic cleansing. Do you know what ethnic cleansing is?
I know what
like
you
if that
think.
Then the Armenian genocide wasn't a genocide because they just moved them off the Turkish land. That wasn't a genocide. They just moved all the Turks. Trail of Tears? No, that was just called the native relocation program. I don't know what you're talking about. The Tatars? No. They just took their Russian vacation.
Yeah.
Like that's ethnic cleansing. Come on, man.
At this point, I don't even care. It's been too many people killed, too many innocents killed. Move them off the land, secure
More
Israel.
Innocents are getting killed right now.
Mm-hmm.
So your policy is to engage in ethnic cleansing to stop people from dying? That's not going to stop people from dying. It's only going to increase the deaths. Do you think all those people who just got pushed off their land are going to be like, okay, well, it is what it is. We're all just Egyptians now. And will the Egyptians even accept them?
No, they won't because they're all
so you're pushing them off with no homeland to go to.
Yes.
How is that going to lead to them not dying in higher numbers?
So here's the deal, Dylan. How many times has a two-state solution been offered?
I mean, different variations of it has been offered on a few different occasions.
There's been like 6 or 7 different variations of it. In fact, the original one came up where the Palestinians got 45% of the land, Israel got 55%, and a lot of that was unarable desert land. And they turned it away and they said no.
Did you see the most recent Trump proposal? Did you see the Trump peace plan?
No.
It certified illegal annexations of Palestinian territory in the West Bank, expanded. It looked like a lot of them were just straight up expanded, and then connected Gaza with the West Bank through a tunnel, so they wouldn't be able to pass through Israel. They have to go through this giant tunnel system. And on top of it, the exchange they did for the land that they were taking was land in the middle of the desert that they would use for technological development, which was never going to happen. It was a terrible deal. Of course, the Palestinians rejected it.
I think the best deal that would work very well, that should work well, is allow full integration of the Palestinian people into Israel as citizens, which have been offered to them multiple times.
And they don't.
I don't think this is true. I don't think this is true. Let me just see this. Just out of curiosity here. Yeah, currently 66% of Jewish Israelis prefer a two-state solution. Let's see. Oh, hey. Israeli Prime Minister Olmert argued in a 2007 interview with Israeli daily Haaretz that without a two-state agreement, Israel would face a South African-style struggle for equal voting rights, in which case Israel would be finished. Yeah. Yeah, again, here's the issue, right? And this is a statement from 2016, Joe Biden, speaking to us from the past. Because of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's policy of steady expansion of settlements and eventual one-state reality, with Israeli Jews no longer in the majority, was the likely outcome, which people like Benjamin Netanyahu find to be an unacceptable outcome. Because again, when you look throughout Israel, there are numerous places that require the Jewish character of a neighborhood to remain intact, meaning that it needs to be majority Jewish. You have numerous laws passed to maintain the Jewish nature of the state. So it is an unacceptable outcome to the powers that be in Israel to actually have a one-state solution that enfranchises Palestinians. That's the major issue. Like this has not been on the table. This has absolutely not been on the table.
Don't want it.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. They don't want it.
So so why does Israel want to force it on them?
If there's not enough land for them, if they can't get all the land, they don't want any of it, cool, yeet them off. If they don't want to become citizens, cool, yeet them off. I don't care anymore.
Man.
Done with. There's not a you don't
You're the
negotiate
guy who
with
just
terror.
creates suicide bombers, huh?
Hey,
like this,
you know what?
You think all those people are just gonna get off their land? They're all just gonna like, oh, you know, bygones be bygones. We don't have a country. None of all of our homes have been taken. For some examples, for the people who have been displaced since 1948, for the third time, and they're just gonna roll over and they're just gonna take it. They're not gonna target American military assets. Not gonna target the Israeli military. They're not gonna be more radicalized. This is gonna lead to peace and prosperity in the region. No, it isn't. You're just advocating for collective punishment, and quite frankly, ethnic cleansing is the soft word for genocide. You're advocating for the ethnic cleansing, and you're just going to end up killing more people. You're not doing it for peace.
You never gave two shits about collective punishment.
What do you mean I never cared about collective punishment? What? Give me an example.
It is perfectly all right for Russians in, I don't know, Crimea or whatever to suffer. You're completely fine with that, cutting off water and everything else. You were actually for that.
I condemned it multiple times.
Pretty
people
sure
on this channel can tell you. I've said this multiple times. I didn't agree with cutting off the water.
But I don't see a problem with collective punishment when you have to get the collective to actually stand up.
So you are admitting that you are engaging in collective punishment then?
Yes.
Okay, which is a war crime. Got you.
No.
It is a war crime.
You can't do war
the UN.
Oh, you can't do war crimes against terrorists.
The UN just interrogated the Israeli foreign minister over this. The Israeli ambassador saying, you are engaged in a policy of collective punishment. And the Israeli minister didn't respond saying, no, we aren't. They responded with, how dare you? You should be fired. You should step down. And they whined and they whinged.
And nothing's going to happen.
But ethnically cleansing all of the people out of Gaza is definitely collective punishment. By definition,
they were nice enough to turn the water back on, and I thought that was a mistake.
Wait, no, I'm even talking about the water. You're pivoting around. You want to take all the Palestinians and force them out of their homes and create another stateless people. A population of 2.1 million, the majority of which are under the age of 18, right? That's your policy. Now, you're doing it because of a Hamas terror attack because you don't believe peace is possible. That is punishing the Palestinian people for the actions of Hamas. That is collective punishment, which is a war crime.
Okay. Enforce it.
Okay, so
Dude's literally just saying like, yeah, all right, I'm fine with war crimes. Like, okay, if you're fine with war crimes, then where is your line, right? Like, where is this dude's line? Is it literally just like, is his line literally just genocide? Like, you can do anything and everything. You can use chemical weapons. You can like irradiate the earth. Like, what level of monster are we dealing with here?
You're just saying, I want to commit a war crime. I just want you to say that. I want to commit war crimes against the Palestinian people, because that is your position.
War crime does not exist because they will not enforce it.
Whether it's a crime or not, or whether a law is enforced does not mean it's not a crime. Whether or not the international court has the power to arrest Israeli prime ministers or not doesn't mean it's not a crime. If for example, if that's the case, then Hunter Biden never committed any crimes. Biden never committed any crimes ever because they couldn't catch him. They couldn't pin it on him. So Hunter Biden is an innocent little angel.
Agreed.
You don't agree with that. You're bending around to try to make it work. You know that Biden committed firearms violations, right? And whether or not they found him guilty of firearms violations, he was still a criminal committing a crime, right?
Yeah, if it's not enforced.
So if whether or not Israel committed a war crime, whether or not Benjamin Netanyahu was arrested for it or not, does not determine whether it was or wasn't a crime.
When was the last time any Western style government or individual in one of those governments were ever brought up for war crimes and actually enforced by the international courts?
Western officials, not often. That's one of my main critiques of the international court system, is that these rules are not enforced equally, and many states just reject them. I want the United States to become a member to the International Criminal Court. It's one of my main critiques of the American government's hypocrisy on the international system. What?
The United States absolutely should be held accountable by the international community. It would make the United States a much better country, frankly, if we were held accountable to the rest of the world.
That's the only time it's ever enforced. The only time any
Welcome
of
back,
these
Chaotic
international war laws are enforced is against the losing party. Okay? War crimes are a myth. They really don't exist. It's just another way to punish people who lost.
That is
just
really silly.
No, it's a dangerous thing, but hey, that's the reality we live in. If you do not enforce the laws equally, the laws don't matter. And I hate
then there's no murder laws. There's no murder laws. There's no rape laws. There's no laws around shoplifting. There's no laws around immigration. Why should people not cross the border in the United States? There's no immigration laws. Some of them get over. They should all just fled into the country. We agree on this, right? We should open the borders because immigration laws aren't real. They're not real because they're not always enforced, right? So they're not real. We don't need to respect them. Open the borders. I'm glad we could come to an agreement.
Good times.
Come on.
What a deeply unserious dipshit.
They're not enforced in all instances. They don't exist, and therefore Israel should try to abide by international law and not commit war crimes.
Only time they are ever enforced is used for extra humiliation for a loser in a war, man.
That's not true. The reason why war crimes, or we want war crimes to be enforced, is so that people in the future don't commit them again, because they think back to, remember that time that guy committed that war crime and got put in prison? I don't want to be that guy. That's why we need to apply this equally across all states.
But they don't.
The solution is to apply it equally across all states, not to just get rid of the laws altogether. If my response to you, if you said we need to enforce immigration law, and I said, but not all immigration laws are enforced all the time, so just open the border. You'd say, no, the solution is to enforce immigration law harder. Make it apply to all people. That would be your response to that.
The moment that they go into Qatar and they actually get the leader of Hamas and they hang him, then you could prosecute Israel on a war crime. Go do that first.
What?
Easy challenge.
What is
Qatar will give them up.
I don't know what this pivot is.
No, the moment they actually enforce war crimes against the leaders of Hamas is the moment that I'll be like, yeah, go ahead and prosecute BB for war crimes. Go for it.
I didn't go anything about prosecuting anyone for war crimes. I just wanted to merely stop. Wait.
You're claiming war crimes. You're claiming war crimes.
Well, I'm not claiming.
When
you just admitted.
I'm just claiming there are no war crimes
because everything you box yourself in by saying, yes, I do want to commit a war crime, but it's not really a war crime because war crimes aren't real. That was your response.
There is no war. Kicking people off land is not a war crime.
It absolutely is. Actually, doing mass displacements of people. I don't know, bud. Maybe you need to open up a World War II book or something.
You know what this feels like, talking to a sovereign citizen. I can't speed. Speeding is your fake laws. I only abide the laws of the natural.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely a fascist, guys.
This
is what it sounds like, man.
Okay.
Okay, but I just want to establish that my question was not whether or not the war crimes tribunal will come and bring everybody together and sentence them. Most war criminals get away with it, and I think that's wrong. Mm-hmm. That's why I want to empower the International Criminal Court more, so war criminals are brought to justice, both Israeli and Palestinian war criminals.
How do you empower them more? I'd actually like to know that one.
Well, first thing I would do is I would give them authority to legislate in the not legislate, but arrest people in the United States. We currently have a law in the books that is called the Hague Invasion Act, which says that if any international court, but specifically we're talking about the Hague, was to take an American, soldier and try to try them, that we have the ability to use all means at our disposal to go to the Hague, bust them out, and bring them here and do it ourselves, or just let them go. I mean, whatever we'd want to do with them. That, I think, usurps the authority of the court that says we want Russia to be held accountable for the 19.5 thousand children that they kidnapped, but we don't want to be held accountable if any of our soldiers committed crimes in Afghanistan. I think that's hypocritical, and I think that we should expand the authority of the International Criminal Court over all states in the world.
So that would usurp sovereignty of the nation.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you believe in national sovereignty?
I do, and I think it's within everybody's interests to abide by the International Criminal Court. Because if you, for example, like if we're in a position where we are ever war crimed, or we have people committing war crimes against American soldiers or committing war crimes against us, I would like an International Criminal Court or some court to be able to step in, take those people, try them, and get justice for those who were done wrong. For example, it would have been cool if after the end of the Vietnam War, not only were people from My Lai prosecuted, but also the people who ran the the Hanoi Hotel were prosecuted for their torture and their crimes. I think wars, while we cannot make war ever civilized, I think abiding by rules in war can make it so there's less civilian casualties, less torture, and it can be less painful for both countries involved.
I think it is an honorable idea to try to lessen the suffrage of war. Having seen it firsthand, just as you have, I would love that to happen. The problem is you can't violate the sovereignty of sovereign nations.
I don't think you can't really just allow that to happen. Can I be honest with you?
So when I was in Iraq, when I was in Afghanistan, I saw a lot of heinous shit happening. And I saw a lot of friends get harmed over overly restrictive ROEs. That's rules of engagement. I'm pretty sure you know that. But that is not the nature of war. War is very fluid. It's very kinetic.
Yeah, he's totally right. He should have just shot literally every person he saw in Iraq. Apparently, according to this absolute monster.
It's not something that you can litigate too much. Would you agree?
I think there are. I'm sure you've witnessed. I mean, I don't know what your standard for litigate too much. Like, I don't think. Like, for example, the standards of engagement for UN peacekeepers in Yugoslavia was ridiculous. It meant they couldn't protect people when they were at threat. They were not properly empowered. And I can agree that in certain situations the ROE gets insane. But I also don't believe soldiers should be able to rape random civilians and shoot random kids.
No, you shouldn't.
Okay, but if there's no international court to hold people accountable, then you are relying on the countries in question to persecute their own soldiers, which in many instances they view as heroes.
That's what exists today. That's what exists today.
And that's bad. It doesn't work. How many Russian war criminals realistically are going to be brought before an international criminal court and tried for the things that they did here? Very little. Absolutely the only ones that are going to be ones that are arrested in third-party countries, like that guy who was just arrested in Finland visiting his girlfriend, who admitted to executing Ukrainian POWs. Now he's going to be sent to Ukraine and tried in Ukraine. But those instances are going to be few and far between. If we had an international criminal court that had authority in more countries, then the more of those war criminals that travel, the more of them that get caught, like that guy in Finland did. Even if we don't have the authority in Russia, if those guys leave Russia, they could end up boning themselves. And even that's better. That situation where Russia isn't abiding by the authority of the court, that's still better than having no one in place to grab anyone.
I just happen to know it never gets, because you can't violate another country's sovereignty. So there's really nothing I can do unless you catch them some way.
The majority of countries have signed on to the International Criminal Court. Why would that be bad for us to sign on to it if you don't like it?
America sure as hell. A blue hat is not welcome on U.S. soil.
So you believe that if an American soldier committed a war crime and an international court wanted to bring them to trial, you think we should say, no, this has to be tried only in an American court?
We did that. We did that recently with, what was a SEAL who was accused of murdering an injured Iraqi.
Would you trust that in, say, Russia or China? Would you trust them to try their own war criminals?
It doesn't matter.
Well,
I mean, it kind of does.
My second question follows. There's a second question that comes after it. Okay, should I answer for you if you're not going to answer the question?
If you're using China and Russia as the example, I would say no.
Okay.
There are many countries that I would. China and Russia is not one of them, but it still doesn't matter.
Do you think any country? Do you think it'd be better for an international institution that's supposed to be neutral to try countries' war criminals, or the country who sent them to invade and fight and do the battle themselves? I think it would be more unbiased, and we'd probably get a fairer trial if it was an international institution.
It depends. That really does depend, man. Because the way, like, okay, so my argument about the Palestinian people not being an ethnic group, they have been used as a cudgel in the UN since the formation of the modern country of Israel to punish the Jews.
Those two guys with us in the room, or is this a video we're watching? We're watching a video right now. I'm just going over this because chat wanted truly to stare into the void of what happens when you have, like, the lowest possible level of intelligence and you're a terrible person. And we discovered it. We discovered it in the form of this man who wants to do war crimes.
That is why the Syrians won't take him. That is why Lebanese won't take him. That's why the Jordanians won't take him. We already know why Egypt won't take him, because a lot of them are Muslim Brotherhood, and they don't want to bring in the old baddies of their group. They're too young to even be able to handle that insurgency again.
What?
But the reality is, no one will.
What? Man, some of the things he says are such bullshit that, like, I know I'm prepared for him to be a dumb fuck, right? But it still takes me aback sometimes. It still takes me aback.
We'll take them because Palestinians are a useful tool to use against the Jews. There's a lot of anti-Semitism that is rampant throughout the world. I mean, hell, you're seeing it right now in America with how they're projecting, honor to all of our martyrs and shit on the side of GWU's buildings.
Martyrs is just a term, like again, if you're gonna talk about this shit, like, bother to know about it. Martyrs is just the term that is used for civilian victims of war. It's as common as saying rest in peace in the West. That's just how you refer to people who have died before their time.
Things like that. There's a lot of anti-Semitic feelings worldwide. And I don't believe a single Jew could get an unbiased day in court in an international court. I believe there are certain people who could never get any type of unbiased It just is what it is.
Honestly, I think this is slightly a persecution complex.
Okay.
Jews have faced anti-Semitism, but the idea that no international body could ever put a Jew on trial because anti-Semitism is so overbearing that the international institutions would decide against them is ridiculous. Do you have any instance that you could point to of somebody in an international court being voted against because they're Jewish? Has that ever happened?
Not right off the top of my head.
Any international body, period?
Yes.
Which one?
What was it? There's Iran. You can't get any Jews get no justice there. Saudi Arabia.
That's not an international body. That's a country. I was talking.
Dude. Can you point at any international body? Begins pointing at not international bodies. God, dude.
Talking about something like the International Criminal Court or UN or you know. I'm not. My question wasn't are there anti-Semitic countries. My question was
the UN automatically is anti-Semitic.
And I would.
The UN literally established Israel. What are you talking about, bro?
What?
UN automatically is anti-Semitic.
The UN is automatically anti-Semitic.
Yes.
See, this is where I think the persecution complex is coming in. Like, how is the UN automatically anti-Semitic? The UN recognizes the 1967 borders of Israel.
Yes, they do.
So the UN recognizes a Jewish state's right to exist. Which, by the way, I don't even think recognizing Israel's right to exist is inherently, like, if you didn't believe that, I don't even think that's inherently anti-Semitic. I think someone can be an anti-Zionist without being an anti-Semite. But even the UN recognizes the 1967 borders of Israel. So where's the automatic anti-Semitism from the UN?
So if you look at the UN's history of their voting history, what they allow to go through, what they don't allow to go through in regards to Israel, it's very much anti-Israel.
That's because Israel violates international law like literally every day. Literally every day. The illegal settlements are in violation of international law. Like the dropping white phosphorus in violation of international law. Like disregarding human rights, violation of international law. Like again, there are changes Israel could make to not be constantly violating international law. Yeah, like this is like saying it's like the UN says murdering civilians is bad, and then Israel's just like, what how can you be so anti-Israel?
Now, a lot of that has to do with
how does that make it how does that make it anti-Semitic? You said it was anti-Semitic. You said that no Jew could be put on trial. Not
Jew every time. You vote against Jews every time, you're an anti-Semite. If you don't even bother listening to it, you vote against Jews every time, you're an anti-Semite.
Because you don't even what they recognize Israel's right to exist, 1967 borders.
Yeah, they recognize that. That's about it, and which is interesting because
that's all they should recognize. I agree with that. That's it. That should be the 1967 borders.
1967 borders, and they should not recognize Palestine because Palestine doesn't exist.
The fuck,
dude? We're just circling now.
The 1967 borders includes the Gaza Strip, Golan Heights, and West Bank, all within the Israeli borders.
No, it doesn't.
No, the Golan Heights were literally annexed like a few years ago.
Yes, it does.
It does not include those as Israeli territory. The Golan Heights is still internationally recognized by the UN as well as part of Syria. I know that it's not part of this 1967 borders as formally recognized as Israeli territory.
Maps. Because, yes.
They could recognize Israeli control, but they don't recognize Israeli sovereignty over the West Bank, over Gaza, or over the Golan Heights. No international body recognizes Israeli territorial claims on the Golan Heights. Syria. It's part of Syria.
It's Golan Heights are definitely Israeli now.
According to who? Israel? I don't even think the United States
really.
recognizes it as part of Israel.
Yes, it does.
Who? What? When did that happen?
Under Trump.
Trump recognized the Golan Heights as part of Israel. Well, that's fucking stupid.
Just like he recognized Jerusalem as the rightful capital of Israel.
Okay, but I'd really like to see the UN recognizing the Golan Heights as part of Israel. I'd like to see that.
Oh yeah, no. Sophie, 110,000%. If Aircraft Sparky lived in Germany in the 1930s, he would have been like arguing about how Hitler had the right to annex the Sudetenland.
I can wait.
Pretty, because I was looking through maps earlier this week, and ran across it. Where is it? Ah, damn it. Yeah, because this is something I'm interested in. But yes, the Golan Heights.
Okay, chat. I think I caught up on all of the donations yesterday from people who wanted to be in my RimWorld colony. So now we just had a new member join. Who would like to join now? Did we do? Oh yeah, Kairyu's been part of the colony since the beginning. New member, hope they live. Yeah, it hasn't gone well for the last 4 of you. I do. Okay, Malachi, let's go.
Yeah. Where are we? This map is since June of 1967, and it does show the Golan Heights as a territory, a controlled territory, not within the borders fully.
Okay, so they don't recognize the Golan Heights as part of Israel. They just recognize that Israel has military control of it, occupying it.
And it's still Israeli territory as far as I'm concerned.
No, don't pivot. The question was, you said that the UN recognizes the Golan Heights as part of Israel.
Yes.
Malachi, you were the fastest trigger.
No, you're right. United States recognized parts of since 2019, March of 2019, as U.S. started recognizing the Golan Heights.
Okay, but the U.S. still doesn't even recognize the West Bank or Gaza as part of Israel either, even under Trump.
Pretty sure.
Okay, I can wait more. I can tell you he didn't. But have fun with that.
Because it's within Israel's borders, actual borders.
So, but that would mean that Trump abandoned a two-state solution during his time in office.
The Palestinians abandoned the two-state solution on like 7 different occasions. So, two-state solution is not a solution.
Every single party involved in fighting and in negotiation recognizes a two-state solution.
Yep.
PLO recognizes a two-state solution.
Yeah,
Fatah recognizes a two-state solution. You can even get statements from Hamas at certain moments recognizing that something called Israel exists.
Yes, but they don't want the two-state solution. Therefore, it is no longer a solution.
Who doesn't want the two-state solution? You don't think Fatah doesn't want a two-state solution? Fatah 100% wants a two-state solution.
Right? That's the West Bank group?
Of course, yes. That's led by Mohammed Abbas.
Yeah.
Yeah, they want it, but they won't adopt it for some reason.
What do you mean they won't adopt it?
What the fuck is this guy talking about?
They will not allow
the line should be drawn for control of territory. Mohammed Abbas and Fatah, as far as I know, are of the position that what is internationally recognized as Palestinian territory should be given back to them, and they want the issue of the right of return to be addressed.
Oh, they want the 1948. They want the 1948 lines.
What?
Yeah,
what do you mean
that's not going to happen.
Are they pursuing that? Or are they like, we will not accept everything but 1948 lines? Because I don't believe that's the case. I believe they're pursuing 1967 borders.
Oh, if they're pursuing 1967 borders, then that would just be the West Bank and Gaza.
Yes.
Gaza but They want
they want other. There's other issues as well when it comes to the right for people to travel between Gaza and the West Bank. They want to resolve the issue of right of return. But this idea that there's no compromise to be held with the Palestinians because the only thing they believe in is pushing Israel into the sea is a fantasy. 65% of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip didn't even want to break the ceasefire. If you don't want to break the ceasefire, how are you going to push Israel into the sea?
I mean, seem to be okay with rockets shooting out of their country all the time. Their little strip of land. Why are they stopping them?
What did that have to do with anything I just said?
If they are for ceasefire, if they are for living peacefully in a two-state solution, why don't they kick the fucking Hamas people out? Why don't they kick out?
There hasn't been an election since
Islamic
2006.
Jihad?
There hasn't even been an opportunity for them to kick them out.
Anytime that the election even comes up, either someone in Gaza or someone in the fucking West Bank does something to end elections. It happens every time. I think the last time was
saying that Hamas doesn't want elections. I'm saying that the people of the Gaza Strip have not had the ability to build a civil society to even try other options.
But the West Bank don't even want elections. Because
what? The West Bank, as far as I know, has elections.
Well,
they have problems.
Mohammed Abbas doesn't want elections. Let's be clear.
The West Bank doesn't want elections.
When you say the West Bank, you're saying like the people there are like, oppress us, no election, we hate democracy. That's not happening.
Literally, there were elections in 2021 and 2022. What? Like what is what?
Stand up, obviously they're okay with the status quo.
What is that? That's
where I'm at.
Okay, so are North Koreans okay with the status quo? They all like starving.
Yep.
Yeah, that again, Aircraft Sparky MGAD is representative of like the conservative wing of American politics. There's a certain type of conservative American that is just Aircraft Sparky.
Because they don't want to overthrow the government. What if they think it isn't? What if? And this is a possibility. What if they think that they'll try and they'll fail and then they'll die and they have children and they have wives and they have families to protect? There could be a lot of reasons as to why people don't go onto the street with machine guns to fight Hamas.
I think they should.
Well, I mean, if you think they should, why don't you go over and fight Hamas like that, huh? Like what? I think they should risk their lives. Man, you're saying that with so much confidence.
If they really want liberation, why don't they fight their true oppressors? Because they sure as fuck ain't Israel.
Israel is one of their oppressors.
Their biggest ones happen to be the ones
their internationally recognized land. Let's go back to your tweets.
I don't know that their biggest oppressors are the ones inside their own borders. I think maybe the biggest oppressors are the ones who can just turn off their water and electricity and food and fuel supply at any given time, and just like go into their houses and steal and break shit all the time and kick them out and do ethnic cleansing. I think maybe that.
We're bumping around. We only got like 45 minutes left. Let's go back to let's do another one of your another one of your tweets. So you've already endorsed war crimes. You've already endorsed ethnic cleansing. But
I endorse the forceful removal of Palestinians from land.
That's called ethnic cleansing. That is, you want to take all of one group that you are collectively punishing and push them off the land because you think they're too dangerous.
They are.
Yeah,
they're so dangerous.
That is ethnic cleansing.
Saying, yeah, I'm in favor of that. What you just said, but it's not ethnic cleansing. I mean that word's bad. That's a bad word. Why don't you just embrace it?
No, it's not ethnic cleansing.
It is ethnic. What's your definition of ethnic cleansing?
Ethnic cleansing would be actually killing them, removing them from the earth in total.
Okay, so under that
no, that's well, I mean, it is both ethnic cleansing and genocide.
Definition then.
Removing them from the land is not a. I don't care where they go.
Where did you get that definition
have to kill
from? I'm curious. Where did you get that from?
Oh, I didn't. That's what I think of.
Oh. I didn't actually know what the definition was. I just made one up in my head. What? What? What's wrong with you? What broke your brain, dude? Aside from conservative politics. Jesus.
When I hear it.
Okay, so you just made it up.
When I was over in Kosovo, when they were talking about ethnically cleansing, what were they doing? They were putting muzzies in mass graves and
they were forcing people off of the land. The majority of people who were getting wronged in Kosovo were not killed. Many were, but many of them were forced off of their land. Now, if you want to talk about that, do you not think that the removal of Palestinians would take force and violence and killing to do it? Do you think they're all just going to decide, okay, we'll leave? In fact, if your plan were to be carried out, I would say the killing that would be part of the ethnic cleansing is happening right now, even if that's not a necessary component. I reject that.
So what I would rather have is for the Palestinians to accept citizenship into Israel and become integrated into society. They can still worship.
You want. That's not what Palestinians want. Because by the way, this is the state you've lined up for them. This is the state that you've created. You saying that you believe that it makes sense for Israel to exist as a Jewish state.
I just want to bring up exactly what he's talking about here, because he just mentioned, right? He just mentioned back when I was over in Kosovo, right? Well, fun fact for all of you guys. There's an entity called the United States State Department, okay? And the United States State Department actually put together a paper on the ethnic cleansing that was perpetrated in Kosovo. And it's called Ethnic Cleansing in Kosovo, an Accounting. And it talks about the mass murder in Kosovo. The 11,000 11,000 people killed in the massacres that happened over there, right? But interestingly enough, as I'm scrolling through it here, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs in on the first page, death represents only one facet of Serbian actions in Kosovo. Over 1.5 million Kosovar Albanians, at least 90% of the estimated 1998 Kosovar Albanian population of Kosovo, were forcibly expelled from their homes. Tens of thousands of homes in at least 1,200 cities, towns, and villages have been destroyed or damaged. During the conflict, Serbian forces and paramilitaries implemented a systematic campaign to ethnically cleanse Kosovo. So, yeah. That's literally ethnic cleansing.
Where only Jews are allowed to hold positions of top power. They're the only ones allowed to hold positions of top power. And you're telling a primarily Arab, Muslim, Palestinian population that
they did both a genocide and an ethnic cleansing there.
Your land's going to be taken. We're going to bomb everything out, but don't worry. You can be part of this country where you can't get political representation in. And we're going to specifically design the system to stop you from achieving that political representation.
This is where you're wrong. There are Palestinians that serve in the parliament.
You said you don't want Palestinian Muslims serving in top positions.
That's it. Let me guess. You're going to call it an apartheid state, right?
If there was a rule in American politics that said no Jews can be president, if we had a rule that said no Jews can be president, would that be a little thing or would that be a big thing to you?
We do have a rule that that non-U.S. citizens who are not born in the land can be president.
Yeah, we don't have a rule that said no Jews, no Muslims, no. We don't have anything barring people by religion.
Well, so
hey, Jim Bob.
We did have deals that
also, God bless the simple bumpkin. I mean, the fact that he's lived this long with this level of simpleton bumpkinness inside of him is a testament to God's existence.
All those Palestinians were born, well, not all of them, but most of the people in the Gaza Strip were born in the areas that we're talking about. Either what is now recognized as Israel and they were displaced, or the descendants of those displaced people, or they were born in the Gaza Strip. So they were of the land.
So Gaza Strip is not Israel, according to you. So
of course, but in I'm talking about your plan. Your plan is to go in and make it Israel.
Yes.
And then say to them, none of you can ever strive to hold positions of top power. We're going to rule you as a Jewish state with Jewish rules that we're forcing upon you.
Okay.
Or now you have to leave, and we're going to force you out. That's ethnic cleansing, dog.
Now do Syria. Do
I might have killed one of the people we were trying to help, and now we have to do a little crime-arino.
Lebanon, do Egypt. Come on, do the rest of them.
What do you mean? Do the rest of what?
Do all the other countries. Do all the other Middle Eastern countries.
In my defense, he did just try and steal the corpse of one of our colonists.
You cannot be a Jew and hold the top political position of power in any of these other countries. And you're completely fine with that. But you are hung up on your fucking Jew hatred.
That's true.
That
my Jew hatred has been pretty out of control recently. I saw this guy with a kippah the other day, and I went,
You didn't see anyone with a kippah because you're in fucking Ukraine, dude.
There's Jewish people here. I actually celebrated Jewish holidays with my Jewish friends here.
Really?
Yeah, they're allowed. There's synagogues here.
I know they're allowed. Yeah, I know there's synagogues there, but I just don't believe there's really any real Jews there at all.
Anthony Bardaway, that's my good friend. You can look him up. I've celebrated Jewish traditions with him. Celebrated Passover with him.
Passover's an awesome thing, isn't it?
It was cool, I guess. I'm not.
I love the.
So anyway, my Jew hatred.
No, but it's
let me quickly say to you. I believe that Iranian anti-Semitism is bad. There's a reason I don't use press TV. There's a reason that I don't associate with people who have worked for Iranian state press that have pushed out anti-Semitic publications. If you were to ask me, should Jews be able to hold the top office in any country in the region, I would say yes. I would say, of course. Okay. I'm not going to defend Bashar al-Assad. I'm not going to defend el-Sisi. I'm not going to defend the mullah. But I'm also not going to defend Benjamin Netanyahu or this idea for ethnically cleansing the Palestinian population and then telling them that they cannot achieve true political representation in the government that has just annexed them. You're either making them stateless or absorbing them into a state that hates them.
Dylan's killing it.
The Palestinians aren't hated by Israel.
They are very. Are you going to tell me that if I sat Ben Gvir down with a group of Palestinians, he's going to have some nice things to say?
There's actually a lot of great Palestinian people, but after what's happened, no, Israel is showing no love whatsoever, nor should they.
Do you believe after the Second World War, Germany should have been abolished and annexed by all its neighbors?
It basically was annexed for what, 40, 50 years?
No.
We split Israel up, yes. There was East Germany, there was West Germany.
Can you answer my question seriously instead of obfuscating?
The Americans? No, that's not obfuscating. Germany did not exist as an actual country until we actually allowed them to come together and unify under their own real flag. Do not pretend that West Germany was its own country because it had the U.S., French, and
British. It was its own country. It had its own standing army. It had its own elected government. It had its own political parties. The West German government was its own country, and East Germany was its own country. And then it reabsorbed into one country.
The Soviets in the East and the Allies in the West, man, they were not their own country.
They were their own country. What do you mean? Like, you could say that they weren't. You could say something like East Germany did not have the most sovereign. You could make an argument like that, but they were countries. They were recognized at the United Nations, were they not?
Yeah, it was a nod, man. It was they were occupied territories, and hell, they still act like occupied territory.
What do you mean? What is
Germany?
Okay.
Germany.
This is just obfuscating. Afterwards, does Germany exist? That's my question to you. Does Germany exist today? Can you answer that question?
Germany today, as an independent state, does exist, but did not exist until the Allies allowed. So that means at some point after the Holocaust, the biggest crime against Jews in the 20th century, there hasn't been one like it in a while. I don't think there's probably hopefully there'll never be one again. But the nation state that killed many more Jews than the Palestinians could ever dream
of killing, and I'm talking about Hamas or any of the more really anti-Semitic Palestinians who want to kill all the Jews. They could never kill as many Jews as Germany did, but the world recognized that at some point, the Germans were going to need to get together, make their own country, and manage their own affairs, because an endless occupation of German territory is only going to create friction and more violence as the German people seek self-determination. That's why the Allied occupation period ended. They passed it over to some form of government with East Germany and West Germany, and that's why West Germany eventually got its own standing army. So if everybody can recognize that when it comes to the greatest crime against Jews that anybody is alive to remember, how can that not also be true for the Palestinian people?
Too soon, man.
What?
It took
30, 40 years. It took 30 or 40 years before we even allowed Germany to exist.
That's not true. It took like 4, maybe 5, I think.
No.
I think we wait. No, it was 4 years. It was 1949. That's when West Germany was officially established.
Yes.
Yeah, look, the only proper way to treat Aircraft Sparky is like a racist cartoon character. You know, like, that's about the only way I can really conceptualize him without getting furious.
That's when we allowed it to be established.
4 years.
Their own
How long has it taken Israel? 60?
They still had to get everything approved. They still had to get everything
60
approved.
years, 70 years, 80 years.
The Allies.
Seems like the Allies knew what they were doing, and the Israelis didn't know what they were doing so far.
Yeah, because they've just been fighting Arabs from day one. 75 years later, same fucking war still going on.
It seems like this needs some other resolution besides more violence and bloodshed.
It does. It does need needs more resolution. That's why
ethnically cleanse the Palestinians. Is that why?
Yes, that's what's going to happen.
That's violence, by the way. You cannot non-violently ethnically cleanse people. People are going to die. As you remove them from their homes, they're going to resist, and they're going to resist violently. And then Israeli soldiers are going to die. Palestinian civilians are going to die.
Wow.
And sadly, Israeli civilians are going to die. And then all those people that you make stateless, do you think that's going to further radicalize them to do more attacks against Israel? Or do you think they're all just going to get over it?
Samson option.
What? You're being non-serious.
The Samson option is just kill them all. That's what he's saying.
Now, what is that? What do you mean Samson option?
You know what Samson option is.
No, I don't. What does that mean?
It's when they nuke them.
So that's just kill them all. You just so genocide.
That's what's going to have to happen if people don't stop. The Israelis are not giving up. Period.
The Palestinians are not giving up. Period.
One of them's got to go then.
Or you could just make a deal and have the Palestinians have a state and the Israelis have a state and don't blockade them.
They've tried.
They didn't try that. Okay, you said that a Palestinian state never existed. So how can you say we gave it a fair try?
You can't
simultaneously hold the position that the Palestinians have never had a state. They're not real. They're not a real country. But also we gave them a fair shake at having a country. You cannot hold these two positions at the same time.
You've given them the opportunity and they've denied it every time.
What was the opportunity that was so good that they rejected?
Oh no, Malachi, you have the plague.
State solutions. They have been given opportunities.
Which opportunity is particularly favorable to you? That you think was they rejected and shows they're non-serious. Oslo Accords.
Every two-state solution.
Every single proposal. Since they rejected a single proposal, that shows they're not serious. They should just be happy the Israelis came to them and acknowledged their existence.
I think at this point, turn off the water, blockade them in, and let evolution sort it. I am not a nice person.
You just seem like a bloodthirsty maniac. You know that, right?
No.
I mean, what you're saying is like worse than what Hamas did.
No, it isn't.
It is absolutely worse than what Hamas did.
No. Hamas.
The majority of the people you're going to be either displacing or killing are going to be children. Over 1 million children.
You allow them to move, or you just siege them in.
And many will not move. It's their homes. It's their lives. Would you move if it was your home? Let me ask you a question. If your community was invaded, someone tried to siege your community and said, we're going to make this, I don't know, fucking Canada. This is going to be Canada time. And you're no longer going to be able to run for president. We're going to change a few things here as a non-Canuck. But you either got to, just get out, leave. Well, would you leave?
Look, The joke's on them. Because Gaza has been offered tons of opportunities. All they do is offer
You can't even name a single one that you thought was actually the fairest deal. Have you looked at any of these deals? Which deal did you look at?
I think the initial offer where the Palestinian group got 45% of the current area that is Israel, and the Israelis got 50.
Which deal was that?
Was more. That was the initial two-state, I believe, under the UN.
The 1948 borders?
Yeah, I believe so.
And then a war happened, and then we got different borders.
Malachi, you might die to the plague. I'm sorry.
They used all that land. Because they used all that land to invade Israel, so Israel just took
How
it.
can you say, because of a deal that was rejected in, I don't know, 1948, that the population, 95% of which was not alive in 1948, doesn't want to make a deal, couldn't make a deal? All the people that were involved in that decision-making process are dead.
So here you go. The people who are paying taxes now are the ones that are being held to a piece of paper that was signed when Ukraine gave up nuclear arms. Therefore, no aid for Ukraine because those people didn't agree to it.
Malachi,
I'm
sorry.
What's the comparison?
The security agreement that we made with Ukraine, the majority of people your age when they was signed weren't old enough to pay taxes. We don't have to uphold that now because
what are you?
Y'all
but the thing is, there is no record. The 1948 borders are not recognized by the UN. The 1967 borders are recognized by the UN.
Yes, they
so
are.
I don't understand why we would have to. What's this comparison?
You asked what the most fair. You asked what the most fair was. I said the most fair was the initial, the 1948. The 1967 borders are there because Israel conquered that land. Those are the lands that were used by the Syrians, Jordanians, and Egyptians to invade Israel, and Israel said, "No, we're going to take away those lands." That's why Rafah is now part of Israel, and not part of.
Why is it that because? But your proposal is that because we weren't able to find a deal in 1948, that making a deal is stupid. We can't do it. It's impossible. So just kill them all. Nuke them.
You asked what the most fair was. 1948 was the most fair. It has gotten less fair throughout time. The most fair is 1948. The least fair was what? 2016?
Trump's proposal.
The last version. Yeah. Okay. That's probably the least fair.
You acknowledge that the most recent deal that was offered to them was not fair at all.
It's the least fair.
Okay.
Letting them have land is fair.
But they're also taking a lot of what there is their internationally recognized land, which you don't care about anyway.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't care. You really don't care about this.
Why are you saying I don't care about this now? Why is that I don't care?
You don't.
Kyryu.
You just don't. This is like this is some virtue signal or something.
It's virtue signaling for me to hear you say we're
Thank
gonna
you.
either kill all the Palestinians or force them all off their hand, either of which would be ethnic cleansing. And me saying, yeah, I don't think that's good. No, you don't really have an anti-ethnic cleansing stance, though. That's not a real position you hold.
Also, Jim Bob, let's leave his family out of it, and also rape out of it. But I understand the sentiment. That's not exactly what happened, but okay. Yeah, no, this guy is the dumbest fuck.
The real position I hold is yeet them off the land. It's no longer theirs. They've lost their opportunity.
He's the American version of Cybersmith.
Israel's authority?
Yeah.
Okay, wait, Malachi, I have a very important question to ask you, okay? Malachi. Do you want to be an organ donor? This is very important. Would you like to be an organ donor? Just unrelated to anything going on right now. Sure, take all of my organs. Okay.
No. Yep.
What if I don't respect Israel's authority?
Cool, fight them. See how that works out. Didn't work out for all the Arab states.
Your argument just boils down to might makes right.
Yes. In the end, yes, because that is the
so if somebody, let me just be clear, if that's the way it works, then let's say that I got some boys together, and I took the White House and I said, we're having President Ilhan Omar, and she's going to do some things, and then it just is what it is.
I mean,
might makes right,
yeah.
motherfucker. What would you say that could object to that, really?
Look, this is the way Jan 6 has been treated. Like, oh, it's on might makes right, which I thought the Jan 6 people think, oh, we're going to take over the government. That's stupid. But the reality is, the currency of the world is force. Every time Israel has gained land, it's been through what? Force. Since its formation. Who's going to stop them? The UN isn't going to do it because the UN doesn't have their own forces.
Okay, unfortunately, none of the colonists we have so far are trained doctors, so we didn't get any organs out of you. Sorry.
The United States is going to back up Israel because it is the only semi-democracy in the region. It's the only multicultural society that exists in the region.
Not what the only multiculturals. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Really?
Where else?
Lebanon.
Where else?
They're literally their neighbor.
Oh, really? Really?
Yeah.
Lebanon that is ran by Orthodox Christians that allow Muslims to exist?
Rip
Come on, man.
Malachi, I'm sorry.
Society. Lebanon is very multicultural.
Is it as multicultural?
Its system of governance is actually designed in a sectarian way that leans into it actually too much.
Okay.
Oman?
Come on, dude. You've got to be shitting me.
What do you think multicultural means? What's your definition of multicultural?
There are people from all over the world that live in Israel that have called Israel their own place.
Okay, that's not what multicultural. Multicultural doesn't mean people from all over the world.
Hold on. There are also more religions that exist in Israel than any other place, and they do it peacefully, with the exceptions of the Palestinians.
I don't think you know what multicultural means.
The Dome of the Rock, actually, the Dome of the Rock, which I think should have been leveled decades ago, is allowed to exist under Jewish lands.
God, man, you're making me more anti-Israel by just talking to you.
This guy is the worst. It's making me hate I don't know, anything that he might like.
Hey, that's fine.
You gotta remember that have you ever been to Israel?
Yes.
Okay.
Trained with the IDF too.
That's
great people.
So terrifying.
Used to be pretty agnostic to them. And then I got to know them. Got to see how they lived. It's actually a beautiful society, man. Great people.
Your judgment is, you're not helping.
Whatever, dude.
Okay, let's go through a few things before we wrap this up. You retweeted something that 99% of people who say they stand with Palestine simply have a deep-seated hatred for Jewish people and want to use this moment as an excuse to hate Jews.
Yep.
How is this not just persecution complex?
Black Lives Matter, I guess. I don't know, man.
I mean,
because
you've listened to my discussion today. At no point in my discussion did I say, I don't like Israel because it's just full of so many, I never said anything like that. Most people who stand with Palestine in the world do not think that. This is just...
I actually feel sorry for the Palestinian people.
It does. You can't say that while you're advocating for them to be ethnically cleansed. I don't take it seriously. I don't think you care.
No, with them, I don't care anymore. I stopped caring about them.
Don't say you feel sorry for them and then say I don't care. Then you don't feel sorry for them. You're gaslighting me. What is this?
I feel sorry for exactly what's going to happen now. Because there is only one thing that is going to happen. Because they won't allow any of the other options to happen.
What do you mean they won't allow? If there hasn't been a deal that's been reached that has been acceptable to both sides to be able to reach an agreement, the solution isn't just eliminate the other actor, make 2.1 million people
Rip
stateless.
Malachi.
That's not
I'm
gonna
sorry.
Make a long-term occupation of the Gaza Strip is not going to make Israel safer. It's going to inspire more people to hate Israel. It's going to inspire more people, sadly, to hate Jews. And it's going to inspire more people to hate the United States for supporting them in the region. And it's going to endanger American assets. It's going to endanger Israeli assets. I don't even think the majority of Israelis would necessarily support a long-term occupation.
Don't need to be there. Americans don't even need to be there. Just let Israel go.
We have American troops in the region that are currently getting bombed in Iraq. 20 wounded.
We shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be there.
Okay, well, whether we shouldn't be there or not, they are there. And our actions in the region will put those men and servicewomen at risk.
Yes. And we've got complete idiots pushing us closer and closer to war. We don't need to be in this. Plain and simple. Not our circus, not our monkeys. Let them go. None of this is our problem. But for some reason, America has to reach out and be involved with everything. Let the Israelis handle it the way the Israelis
world
is
much bigger than than like a small town in Timbuktu. The international gas trade, global stability, these are all things that will affect the United States. And a war in one of the most oil-producing regions of the world would also affect the United States.
Why is it the most oil-producing region in the world, Dylan?
The Middle East is one of the most oil-producing regions in the world. Yes.
No, it is. I'm not denying that. What I'm asking you is, why is it? We have more natural resources when it comes to oil and natural gas.
I don't. This argument I don't like. It is true that we could drill more oil, but also if the international oil market has a crash, that's still going to affect American consumers. Or oil prices are not just impacted by how much we're drilling. You're right. This is what happens. If prices in Europe go up because they can no longer import oil and gas from the Middle East, then American oil and gas producers are going to then sell over there because they're offering higher prices. So the international market will affect how American consumers interact with, the gas pump. I don't understand why that would drilling more oil would solve the problem.
We are wasting our time protecting resources that we don't need. America does not need to be the world police. We need to get out of that idea. As far as
I don't think America themselves should be the world police. I think the world together should police world affairs. But America should be involved in that process.
Yeah, honestly, aircraft Sparky is a wonderful argument for more funding for public education.
But that's not the way it's worked. Okay? Who provides more military might to the UN than any other group?
I think it's China, maybe. I know they provide the most. I think personnel.
They provide the most personnel, but when it comes to all the training, when it comes to all the other things combined in with it, America actually leads the way in all that.
Maybe the funding. One second. Who funds the UN military the most? Yeah, it is the United States. We fund the most, but when it comes to like operators and people actually going there and being on the ground, I don't think it's nearly as high. Bangladesh contributes the most soldiers, actually. Huh?
That's surprising.
Cool. I know I've dealt with Pakistanis.
Do you think that the United States should give more to the UN as a wealthier nation?
No.
So you think Bangladesh and the United States should give the same amount?
I think the United States should leave the UN.
Okay, so
okay, then the United States should stop building factories all over the fucking world. Have fun with that, I guess.
Cool.
This guy is deeply,
I believe it's
deeply like
obsolete.
Fucked.
You think a forum for people to talk about issues is obsolete? Why?
You
think we should lose our Security Council veto? Why?
We're not going to lose our Security Council.
If we pull out of the UN, we will lose our seat on the UN Security Council. We'll lose our veto power, and then we will no longer be able to veto legislation put forward by Russia and China about how the world is run, and we will no longer have a say. You're exiling us from the conversation.
Yeah, I don't think the U.S. needs the UN.
You're an American nationalist, yeah?
Yes.
Losing our veto power will weaken the United States on the international stage.
Yeah, I don't care. I am sick of us being involved with everything in the world. I'm sick of our men and women being sent all over the world.
What do you say that? What do you mean by that, really?
What do I mean by that?
How does us being in the UN put American servicemen and women at risk overseas?
How many military operations has the U.S. combined
Malachi!
coalitions through the
For my
UN?
funerals.
Oh, thank you for considering your own funeral expenses. I appreciate that, and I'm very sorry that you died almost instantaneously.
In order to go to war.
I have no control over who gets the
one
plague.
in modern history that did not have UN backing.
Name one American operation that didn't have UN backing? The invasion of Iraq?
Nope, that was a UN coalition.
That was not a UN coalition.
There was a coalition. Coalition of the willing. Coalition of the willing, my man.
It wasn't a UN coalition. The French rejected it.
No.
There were multiple other. You think China voted in favor of a UN mission to remove Saddam from power? We failed. We failed the UN vote.
China did veto that. Yeah.
I don't even think they vetoed it either. It just failed the vote.
I don't see where we need the UN as the U.S. anymore. I don't.
Do you not think that, maybe that if we listened to the UN on that issue, maybe we would have been a little bit smarter and we wouldn't have invaded Iraq? And then all those lives wouldn't have been killed, all those American personnel wouldn't have been killed?
We invaded Iraq based on a blood debt.
Blood debt?
I feel.
To who?
I think George W. Bush.
Hey, my Lord
Iraq
Ines.
supposedly put.
I regret to inform you that you have died in our RimWorld playthrough at the hands of Kyryu in a murderous rage frenzy that I was unable to stop.
The hit on his father, he took it personally and set this in there. There were WMDs in Iraq, just not
nuclear weapons, which is what Dick Cheney was suggesting.
There weren't nuclear weapons.
Dick Cheney suggested that we don't want the smoke.
Yeah, which of those chemical weapons were WMDs, bud? Which of them were WMDs? Citation needed, motherfucker.
Gun to be a mushroom cloud. What does that mean? That means nuclear weapons.
Yeah, there was chemical weapons. There weren't nuclear.
Yeah, they were chemical weapons.
We knew there were chemical weapons though.
Yeah, but that's not what we didn't invade to get like a few thousand tons of chemical weapons. We invaded to stop the development of the Iraqi nuclear weapons program, which had been defunct for 30 years.
That did not exist. That did not exist.
Well, it did exist. It just was defunct.
Yeah.
So maybe if we would have listened to the international institution, the UN, maybe we wouldn't have invaded and maybe we wouldn't have done what we did.
Yeah, maybe we wouldn't have lost thousands of American lives and killed almost 1 million Iraqis.
It depends on what you mean. If it's like direct deaths or indirect, it depends on how you measure it. But a lot of people.
Yeah, but no, that was a war that we had no reason to belong in, and then Afghanistan, we stayed there about 20 years too late. America has built its wealth on war. And it looks like we're pushing towards another one. That's my problem, man.
It's very simplistic. It's very simplistic.
Yes,
but instead of me getting down into talking to you about the defense industry and how much influence it actually has, I want to.
WMDs can be like biological or chemical weapons, but again, what would constitute a WMD of a chemical nature is very different from like a nuclear weapon. And it would depend on the chemical agent.
Let's go do a few more of these questions. Not a single Palestinian should be allowed to even see American TV shows. American land is a definite no. So you don't believe any Palestinian refugees or people should be allowed to resettle in the United States?
That's fucking crazy.
Zero. Because they
you said you cared about them. But we're gonna the current aircraft Sparky plan is go into the Gaza Strip, push out the Palestinians. Egypt won't take them.
Also, just for the record, there are almost 200,000 Palestinians living in America right now. Like, this dude is so racist. He's like, yeah, we need to get rid of them. We need to deport them.
Jordan won't take them because Jordan's already taken a lot, and they had Black September.
Aircraft Sparky, more like genocide Sparky. Am I right?
Syria won't take them. Lebanon won't take them. Already a ton of displaced Palestinians in Lebanon. Probably not going to take any more. Economy is in chaos. They're now a stateless people with nowhere to go. And we also won't take them in as refugees.
They can go back to their actual roots of being Bedouin.
This is
his solution is literally they need to wander in the desert for 40 years. He's like, yeah, remember what happened in the Bible when they made people wander around in the desert for like decades? We should do that to Palestinians. I seem to recall reading that part, and it wasn't framed as a good thing, actually.
so
that means nomad.
I feel like if somebody was to take the comment, just like, I don't know if you were probably more aware of it than I was at the time, but in the early 2000s, that kind of like, we just need to glass the Middle East, turn into a big old crater. You know,
I heard
somebody with like thinking of no like complexity of these issues. They just know that they're angry and they hate that somebody attacked us, so we need to just destroy it with overbearing force. Yeah. That same vibe is what I'm getting from you. I'm getting that same exact vibe from you.
Okay. Can't tell you how to feel there, buddy.
Okay, why Palestinians should not be allowed in the United States? Why should Palestinians not be allowed to come here?
If they refuse to integrate in Israeli society, they sure as hell ain't going to integrate here.
Because they don't consider themselves Israeli. We have Palestinian Americans.
Yeah, it was 40 years.
Americans either.
Why? How do you know that? There are Palestinian refugees who have come to the United States and have become great American citizens who contribute.
Okay.
So why can't they come if they can contribute? I mean, we're the shining city on the hill, supposedly. Lady Liberty. Give us your sick.
No. Don't give us your sick. We don't want your poor. We don't.
Yeah. Nah. Fuck all that shit about America being a place you could come to. Fuck it.
We want you defunct. We don't want them anymore. We got plenty of those that we need to fix here first.
There were always in every country there were poor people. So you're saying no one should ever have immigration period unless they have poor people? What?
Yeah, he's allegedly a Christian.
So many, dude. The welfare state cannot support it, cannot handle it. For Christ's sakes, we're going broke. We're going into deficit.
Don't we have a labor shortage?
Trying to fund everyone else more.
We have an unemployment rate of like under 3%. Well, what do you mean it's impossible to take anybody else in?
No, I'm not saying it's impossible. I just said we don't need them. We don't want them. Someone else can handle them. Not our problem.
So you want to just remove them all with no place to go? Israel would be removing them. It's not the U.S. doing it.
But and as far as that's
removing them, if under your policy,
actually, under my policy, we would provide Israel zero help,
and it would just be Israel cleansing them, and then we just kind of like,
just Israel.
His policy is a complete lack of policy. Brilliant move for a empty-headed numbskull.
Do what Israel does. Let them do their thing. Stop telling them how to run their lives.
Why is it that Palestinian America? Is there any refugees that America should take in?
At this point, no.
What about immigrants?
At this point, no.
No immigrants and no refugees.
At this point, no.
So we're just going to stop the American economy for what reason?
We don't need them right now. We need to fix our own problems.
We don't need like people interested in developing tech, or people interested in becoming doctors, or people interested in engineering, people interested in making a small business.
Coming back from my trip a week and a half ago, I met a guy from Russia, real nice guy driving an Uber, and he was telling me about how he was a software engineer in Russia. When he moved over here, America wouldn't accept his education as credentials. And I said, yeah, that's a common problem we have here in the States. We require, I knew a guy from Iraq. He was a surgeon. They wouldn't allow his medical training to qualify. Even as his bachelor, he had to start over from scratch, man. And all he wanted to do was go back to medical school. He was an interpreter for like 3 years for the U.S. Army. Great guy.
The complete absence of empathy here is insane to me. Like, yeah, this guy I know, like, came here, he worked hard, great guy. Can Palestinians be that? No. Like he's just racist.
We don't recognize other countries' education, for Christ's sakes.
That's
And
not true in
we
all
don't offer.
cases.
It honestly is.
If somebody
right?
gets a degree in the United Kingdom, that doesn't that a lot of
Yeah.
that is transferable.
If they're a Western country, if they're in a Western country.
I mean, even in other countries as well, it depends. It depends on the university. It depends on the institution.
So we got a lot of Indians that come into the country, and America will not accept the credentials from their colleges, and a lot of their colleges are based off of British education systems. But we don't accept those. We claim that we have a higher standard of education, and I mean, yeah, maybe we do in some aspects. I'd argue maybe not. But we have all these people here in America that is educated, and there's, yeah, what is it? It's under 3%. That's under the what? The participating. There's actually a lot of people who are eligible to be employed, but just aren't looking, things like that. I don't remember what the term for that is. But we, quote unquote, have a labor shortage, but we only have under 3% unemployment. I don't buy it. We're dependent on other countries to manufacture everything for us. For Christ's sake.
Wait, you don't buy the unemployment number? Is that what you meant?
The biggest contributor to slavery in the world is America, because we purchase slave labor daily.
You mean cheap labor? Is that what you mean?
Sure. The people over in China that are working for slave wages for like $2 or $3 a day.
I don't know that Aircraft Sparky knows this, but slaves generally don't work for wages. Anyway.
We're buying up all their stuff. We have become a consumer country. We make nothing. And it's actually kind of disgusting.
So why would it be bad to have those people come here and do that work here, or work here instead?
We'd have to integrate them into society. That takes money, time, and training that we don't have. We're too busy.
What do you mean we don't have the time or training to do that? It would be a case by case basis.
Do all the training.
If somebody comes here and they know English and they study for the citizenship test and they take it, what's the problem?
Actually, nothing.
You said we don't need any immigrants. Like, no more immigrants, you said.
We don't need any. Oh, not for right now. We have how many undocumented immigrants in America?
What does that have to do? Wait, if somebody's a legal immigrant or going through the proper process of applying to be a refugee, what does that have to do with somebody undocumented?
If we
until we figure out how to deal with every single undocumented person, we can't have any more legal immigrants coming here to bring knowledge and education.
Not every single, just the vast majority. We got to fix the problems in America before we can help anyone else.
So we're just going to put a pause on all that knowledge transfers and all those possible job programs and training programs. All of that just put on pause until we deal with all of the undocumented immigrants.
Yeah.
That's to be
Stop worrying about everyone else's borders. Stop worrying about everyone else's borders.
If we have a shortage, for example, the shrimping industry. I don't know if you know much about shrimping, shrimping.
Shrimping industry? Okay.
Yeah. Shrimping was a big thing back where I'm from.
Mexican labor contributes a lot to the shrimping industry.
Vietnamese contributes a lot to shrimping.
It depends on where you're shrimping, but in the California area, Mexican labor contributes a lot to shrimping.
California, man.
And the work visas that are being given out to those shrimpers to come to the United States and work were getting stopped under the Trump administration. And so what the shrimping industry did is they tried to get more Americans to do the job instead, and they failed. A lot of the people found the work quite difficult, because shrimping work is very physically taxing, and you have to be very fast. And that is speed that you build up over time. And so the shrimping industry took a hit because of that work visas being limited. And so that is something that is economically damaging to the country. You're saying not to limit those visas, not to limit the immigration, not to limit. You're saying to cut it all off. That's going to be economically disastrous, not just for shrimping, but for any industry that is reliant on any sort of foreign labor or trying to get more highly educated people from overseas to work their jobs in Silicon Valley or elsewhere.
So you really should have let off with the Silicon Valley deal, because that probably would have been a little bit more than we need brown people to do manual labor for us, because that's what you went to.
Shrimping is not okay. Let's not degrade shrimpers and to say, oh, shrimping is just like you just pick up the shrimp, you just did it. That is a difficult job, and it's not easy to do, and a lot of people tap out of it. And when people tap out, you're 100 feet off the coast. You got to turn around. You got to bring them home. You got to let them off. And that takes fuel, that takes resources, and that takes time. And shrimping is seasonal.
They're not allowed. They're actually not allowed to quit on the trip. They can quit when they come back in.
People. Well, it depends on the. I've seen people quit and then have to be taken back. So I've seen it. So I know what happens. Right now, maybe it's different with whatever shipping industry or shipping job that you're working.
Never seen a boat captain turn a boat around because one person quit. They said, "Fuck it, you're working." And that's it. Now, they may just be doing like mess details and stuff like that, but no, they're still going to earn their place on that boat while they're out, because while they're out at sea, the only rights they have are very basic rights. That's why.
Dude, you said that in the most sussy way possible. What you're talking about kidnapping, my guy. You what?
Offshore work is so fucking brutal.
I don't know what we're talking about shipping this much, but Silicon Valley.
For the majority, but you should have went with the Silicon Valley, because there is different points of view that usually helps in programming and things like that, where a non-Western thinker may be able to get around a problem that a Western thinker may not, because of how we teach people.
What?
You're right. There are certain skill sets that we can't necessarily fill fully, but the majority of the things that people go to are agricultural, fishing, basic labor jobs that anyone can do. It's just most Americans
people don't want to do it. People in the United States don't want to do those jobs.
Yeah, life sucks. Get a helmet.
But then that means we're going to see inflation when it comes to, food items like tomatoes and cucumbers and stuff that people have on their table.
We have tons of inflation already.
So just add more fuel to the fire.
Yeah, make it worse. Why not? No, the problem is America produces nothing. We got to start producing shit, because we depend on slave labor today. The biggest contributor to slave labor is Western society.
Slavery is still actually real. It's not just like a term. People like slavery does exist.
Yes.
People in bondage,
open air
beaten,
slave markets in
hurt,
Libya
and
and shit like
actual
that.
slaves. Right? Those are real.
Yeah.
So let's not obfuscate here.
That.
We're talking about cheap labor overseas.
Hillary Clinton actually started one of the largest open air slave trades in the world. Because remember, we came, we saw, we killed him. And that what she said about what's his name? Gaddafi? Yeah, Gaddafi.
Hillary said, we came, he saw, he died. Yeah.
Yeah. And now Libya has open air slave markets. Thank you, Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration.
It's not the Obama, whatever. Continue.
It's America needs to take care of itself is the deal. We are so worried about everyone else's borders. We're so worried about everyone else's everything that we are neglecting the homeland.
Immigrants can help us. Immigrants help the United States. It depends where the immigrant, what skills the immigrant has. It depends on the economy. It depends on a whole sort of factors, whether somebody is going to contribute more or less or none at all to the United States. But immigrants do contribute to the United States. The United States would not be where it is today if it wasn't for immigration.
I don't know how Dylan has the patience for this. This is just grueling and frustrating, and how is he doing this?
I agree. But I think for a short amount of time, we need to cease all immigration. We just need to fix America, and then we can move on, letting people in. And then we'll.
Yeah. We just need to fix America. Oh, when will America be fixed, my guy? The answer to that is never. Like, there's no perfect country. There's no perfect state. He's just a racist, guys.
allow people in. We only allow
Can
certain
you show
things
me an
that benefit the
example
country,
of this
like
model
New
or this system you're proposing being tried
New
anywhere
Zealand's
else and
immigration
actually
policy.
dealing with it?
New Zealand's immigration policy. They
New
only
Zealand.
allow people with certain levels of education. Like, if you want to
They
come in for
stopped all immigration until they deported every illegal or most undocumented
no,
people.
no,
So then
they're
this hasn't been tried in New Zealand.
no, they don't. So they don't have the same immigration problems we have because they're geographically separated from fuck all.
Okay, so can
They
you give me
live
an
in the middle of
example
the
of this being tried and working? Because you know what I think is going to happen? I think we're going to cease all immigration. Then all the people who are going to come here illegally are either not going to come here, so they're not going to offer the educational experience, they're not going to offer their work experience, they're not going to offer the things that America wants, or they're going to come in illegally, making the process worse, making the problem worse, and we're not probably going to deport most of the people. We might try to put more funding in ICE, we might attempt to, but a lot of them are going to get missed. And then how long does this go on for? Until eventually we tap out with a border as large as ours. How much are we going to invest into the border?
Oh, I agree. We just need to fix. We need to secure our borders where the problems exist right now. The majority of the problems happen on the southern border. We really don't have too much.
What do you mean the majority of the problems happen on the southern border?
Majority of the problems that we have with our immigration right now is
undocumented immigration problems, not just problems generally.
I mean, we have a lot of problems with immigration, but one of our biggest problems right now is illegal immigration.
Can we get back to the main topic, because it's been an hour and a half, and I still have some tweets I wanted to talk to you about.
You have to scold me on those later, man. I have got to go because I have something I have to do. But no, look, all I'm saying is that we need to stop immigration, fix America's problems, stop worrying about everyone else's borders for a little bit, stop with the quote unquote American imperialism or whatever it is the left likes to scream about. Let's actually take care of some American nationalism. Let's take care of our people. If you want to help fund Ukraine, cool. Let that go through committees in Congress.
How is he such a terrible person?
Happy that we got a new speaker. And look, individual spending bills for everything. No putting them in packages. No money contingent on another group of money to sneak in stuff. Tired of that. Let's get the single.
I'm only comfortable with that if they promise to have a vote on the legislation that matters. Because if they say we're not going to bundle these issues that Americans care about, but we're also not going to host a vote on the issues that Americans care about, then we're going to bundle it.
Let's go. Let's have a vote on all of them.
Okay.
It's about time Congress earned their fucking money.
By the way, I do need to quickly ask though, because you just brought up Ukraine. Where's the money laundering? You said on Twitter that the money that we're sending over is just being money laundered. Do you have any evidence of that?
That's another conversation to have, man. We'll talk about it later.
Okay. See you later, man. You have a good one. Bye-bye. Underlay. Wow. That was a talk, wasn't it?
Oh my god, dude. Well, I was true to my word. I dropped all of your, I dropped our collective IQ by about 10 points. We are all now dumber for having watched that. I have truly provided you the brain rot you all requested of me.